I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the Marching Band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Welcome to Let Him Cook. Different backdrop for me. I moved this week, still in Des Moines, downtown, different apartment. Very cold to move in January, but for the most part, just some unpacking left. Lots to unpack today. Little segue there. Nigel, all over Twitter today, this is where we want to start the pod. Slam, the magazine, kind of just one of the most iconic basketball publications in the world. And all they tweeted about today was Iowa State. Just a huge moment, like nationally for Iowa State. What was like your favorite part about that? I already bought a T-shirt, and I know you're planning on it.
Yeah, payday is tomorrow, so we will be getting a T-shirt as well. I might get two, like I told you off camera, every size, small, medium, large. I haven't fit in a small since like the 8th grade, so we're gonna find out tomorrow. But yeah, no, this is huge, man. Like that is huge. I remember vividly buying my first Slam magazine ever in the 5th grade. And it was when Blake Griffin and Chris Paul were teaming up in LA together. And I just remember it being this iconic moment because not only did I get that magazine, but again, mind you, this was 2012, 11, like late 2011. So you had to mail in the subscription thing. Like you weren't able to sign up for it online yet. Right. So like the little white sheet that came in the magazine, I had to write my address, let them know that I wanted the 12-month subscription. And dog, I covered my entire childhood bedroom wall in those free Slam posters that came in there. I was like the DeAndre Jordan over Brandon Knight dunk. I mean, it was D Rose, LeBron, D Wade, like the list goes on and on. But yeah, dude, like that. Those are some of the best magazines ever. Not only because of just like the nice posters and obviously images, but they also had like the East Bay site on. Or like the deals. Oh my god!
Out East Bay.
Shout out! Like we're giving away. I sound like Unc right now talking about what East Bay was. Like the kids don't know nowadays what
East Bay was nice.
Dude, they came in clutch. Like you could get the newest, brightest shoes, brand new shoes, like great prices. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was a hooper's dream in a magazine. Put it simply. So to see not only Keshon but also Curtis Jones on the cover of today's Slam edition, it was bittersweet. It made my inner child very happy, but it also made me just so damn proud to be an Iowa State alum.
I just want to read. There's a great article that went with the cover, and this is a quote from Keshon Gilbert that I think is just hard as hell. Just like one of the like most. Like, it doesn't surprise you as a Cyclone fan, this quote won't, but it just, like, kind of embodies the whole team. And I quote, "I ain't gonna lie, Iowa State isn't for everybody. If you don't really love basketball, you ain't gonna like it. You ain't gonna fit here because basketball is all it is." And for a town, and I say this with pride, in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do, it was 1 degree this morning in Ames, Iowa. Whew. All it is basketball. So if you don't love basketball, get to stepping. Like that's all that is here. So if you're not locked in a gym for 12 months, there's not a whole lot else to do. And for these two guys, especially to just embrace that kind of mindset and that culture, it was just awesome. And like some of these pictures just go hard as shit. Like I think our generation tosses the word aura around a little too much. It's like the buzzword.
This photo shoot was oozing aura. I'll say it. I'll say it with full confidence.
It definitely is. Like this feels, and we just talked about this, the most nationally relevant Iowa State has been, and maybe even a little bit more just because of our ranking and how we're playing than like the peak Hoiberg years. I think this team is right up there in terms of, talent, in terms of recognition, in terms of you're going to see us on SportsCenter highlights anytime we play at this point because we're the number 2 team in the country, the highest we've ever been ranked.
Yeah, no, well, here's the thing. I get it for a lot of Iowa State lifelong fans. Hoiberg is like got a near and dear place to your heart. So it's a little hard to let go of those glory days. But people, this week alone, off of numbers, just strictly numbers, we've surpassed anything that ever happened in that era. Like, we're here. We talked about it. We talked about acting like we've been there. We talked about being at the table of the Final Four. We're not there quite literally yet, but I mean it in every way of the metaphor. We are here. Like what we've tried to become in the last 3 years, we're now the cream of the crop. Like we're right there with the best of them. And I just never thought I'd see the day where it's just so like it just feels like each week is adding a new essence to just this era of Iowa State basketball. Like it's unreal. Like it'd be one thing to be the number 2 team in the country. A lot of teams have been number 2 in the country, but the way it's happening, the way it happened on Saturday, and then to just top it off, like, hold up, you mean to tell me these guys got this gritty win in Lubbock, Texas, but right before they had a photo shoot that would do numbers? I mean, Disney Channel can't write a better script, man. Yeah. Like, these kids are having a phenomenal year, and it's honestly like the tournament hasn't even happened, and it's just already so storybook. It's amazing.
And one thing to me, and I think most Iowa State fans, especially preseason, if you were to guess which athlete would have been kind of the star of a Slam magazine feature story, I think people would have guessed Taman Lipsey, who was kind of like, I mean, still a huge part of this team, but I think it's very clear that this team goes where Keshon and Kurt take us at this point, and Taman's still an incredible facilitator, but I think the torch has kind of been handed over to these 2 guards, and they're scoring at least in defense, really everything. Yeah. I mean, this is their team. And another thing, one more thing about the article, the way that these guys like kind of found their way to Iowa State. Curtis barely got recruited out of high school, went to a JUCO, went to Buffalo, found his way to Iowa State.
He went to Indian Hills, which is like the Kentucky University of Kentucky of JUCOs. So I just want to put that out there. That's a high level JUCO. So, but proceed.
Also, I was saying Ames, Iowa is the middle of nowhere. Ottumwa, Iowa is the middle of nowhere. That's another level.
That is, and that's cornfield trenches.
That's no disrespect to anyone from Ottumwa. I'm from Manning, Iowa, so I grew up in a place that is very much the middle of nowhere. But that is about as deep in the boonies as you can get. And then Keshon, recruited by Otts, but had a couple years at UNLV, never really put it together, and then came to Iowa State, and a switch just flipped, and now both of these guys have been taken off all year. So really just an incredible personal story. The photo shoot goes hard as hell. It's all in Hilton Coliseum. I mean, they went all out for it, and it's awesome. As an Iowa State fan, it rocks. And same as you, I mean, like I grew up, I have Slam t-shirts in my closet right now. Like, same. Love that magazine, and it's just crazy to see those guys getting the recognition that they got today.
Yeah. Well, and 2 things, like when it's also crazy to think of these 2 specifically because of, you think about their last respective schools at UNLV for Keshon and then at Buffalo for Curtis. They both were averaging 2 points.
Yeah.
Like,
as freshmen.
What?
Yeah, their first year.
I almost want to find the coaches that took them in and shake them. Yeah. What is wrong with you? You wasted so much talent. I can't even fathom. Like, it seems like there's been more than just a switch turned on for both of those guys, and it seems to be just oozing confidence. Even in Curtis's post game after Texas Tech, like you can just tell, like they just feel so comfortable here. And I honestly too, I can't speak so much for Curtis, but definitely for Keshon. I mean, think about it, Keshon. I mean, Otts recruited him out of high school. So, like, he really was the first person that obviously Keshon believed in and trusted enough to go play for. But TJ was also believing in him from a very young age. So their relationship probably goes a lot deeper than any of us from the fan basis can even fathom. But also, too, it's just crazy to think that, two people that I guess it just shows like the benefits of the transfer portal. We've always talked about how annoying it is when some guys are 27 years old with families and mortgages still playing college basketball. But nonetheless, when you see a come up story like that has been Curtis and Keshon, it really is remarkable. Also, shout out to both of them because I'm quite the sneakerhead, especially with basketball shoes. I love the rebirth of the Kobe's. It just takes me back to 2013. But when they pop out with the Venice Beach Kobe 8s, chills, guys. That's a top tier shoe, and they did not disappoint in that photo shoot. Bravo.
Let's move on to Texas Tech. We teased it a little bit. The Auburn game didn't get the outcome we wanted, but it was an incredible basketball game. Marquette, just because of, it was kind of Hilton's first game where it was rocking. Iowa, obviously exciting. I think Texas Tech was the best, most entertaining game of the year. It was on ESPN on Saturday. Just a huge stage. And looking ahead to this game, Texas Tech was top 3 in effective field goal percentage. They're top 25 in 2-point and 3-point offense. So in my head, I was thinking the only way Iowa State has a chance to win at Lubbock is we turn them over a bunch, we trap the guards, Texas Tech's guards melt, they can't take it, and it didn't work. We tried trapping, and JT Toppin took us to town.
Boy, they're like Obi Toppin out there, man. I was like, is this guy a long lost cousin? Who is he?
We were in trouble early, and I think, again, it goes back to Otts. I think a lot of kind of the older brand of coaches, once they have a game plan, they live and die by it. They say, nope, this is what we saw on tape. This is going to work. It was my decision. We're going to stick to it. TJ, like halfway through the first half, was like, screw that. That's not working. Just play really good man-to-man defense. We're going to forget trapping. And it truly was a game of runs because sometimes trapping did work. I know we had an 8-0 run when we were trapping. I know we had an 8-0 run when we stopped trapping. I think this game was just weird. But we did not win the way I thought we would. Iowa State and Texas Tech both had 15 turnovers. So, this team is just, they find ways to win. What in the first half? Let's just start with the first half. It was a frustrating first half. Texas Tech had a lot going for them.
Yeah. And guys, like I said, this was a trap game. We were supposed to lose this game. When things started going well for the Red Raiders, I was like, God wants them to win this game. There's no way. You had guys I had never even heard of going absolutely crazy. Christian Anderson coming off the bench, 18 points, ballistic, really 4 of 4 from 3. Who is that kid? Like
from Germany, freshman, came out of nowhere.
Dennis Schroeder hybrid dude, man. That's my point. Is there are so within the gauntlet of especially your conference season, there are just games that just are not in your favor from the jump, from the minute you land, getting off that plane. Fate is not on your side, and we've seen us melt in these same situations. So, really, like. To think that what we talked about in our last episode of how it was set up for us to lose, and then to see us fall behind in kind of tale as old as time fashion. Also, we have got to stop opening up games trapping. It's never worked. It only works when we just throw it at people sporadically because we have the athletes to then be able to tip off or steal that next pass, like when they rotate. But trapping immediately, like right off the first 5 minutes, it never has worked. We have to stop doing that. It only brings out the worst in us for whatever reason. But also, too, Texas Tech just made big plays, and they were going to play with that nothing to lose mentality. Guys were going to play with I don't care to them, and we saw that in Anderson and Toppin, just because. You got your crowd behind you. You got an extra little bit of pop, extra bit of juice flowing. Especially when those Texas kids get to swag surf, and it gives me the heebie-jeebies, but it works for them. But there's just so many elements outside of X's and O's that play into how Texas Tech could get out to the lead that they did, especially in the first half. But a lot of it too was just like they had that extra juice with the crowd. Like it's the same effect that Hilton gives us when Kansas comes to town, God willing. But especially in years past, like it just people play better when they got a gang of crazy people behind him. And I think that was a lot to do with Texas Tech's first half of just ballistic basketball, to say the least.
And I think too, and again, this goes, I think with, you're playing a home game against a really good team. It felt like every momentum swing was going Texas Tech way. They got up to maybe a 13-point lead in the first half there, but it felt like every offensive rebound, I feel like anytime they airballed it, it was landed directly in the hands of a Texas Tech player. Loose balls were bouncing their way. Like, it was just like dumb, like, honestly, stuff that Hilton Magic is kind of known for, where it's just like, how do you even explain that? Was going Texas Tech's way in the first half. They had 4 players score more than 15 points, which is crazy in college. Christian Anderson, your boy, coming off the bench, had 18. Chance McMillan, the best three-point shooter in the country. Frank Fraschilla got a lot of airtime saying that line. He had 18. Darian Williams had 15. I bet he wish he had 17. And then JT Toppin had 18 points, 18 and 9. My takeaway, I think JT Toppin could be first team all Big 12. He looked, especially in the first half, like a monster unleashed. The transfer from New Mexico last year, he's a sophomore. I hope he either goes pro or transfers again, because I don't want to play that guy again. He is a really good basketball player.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. Teams in the Big 12 always shock you, because the teams you really think are having a down year, they'll have 1 or 2 guys, maybe 3, that can really just give it to you. And part of the giving it to you is that element of surprise. I mean, Christian Anderson, I guarantee you he was not a point of emphasis in the scouting report. And McMillan, to have the great game that he had, and then when God needed him, when the team needed him most, when God really could have did the kid a solid, best shooter in the country, right? Doink. Yeah. Wow. Why? And that's the thing. You talk about a game of runs. It's also just a game of chance, a game of momentum. Because to go from everything was working for them in the first half to what it ended up being, as not only do you get the benefit of the doubt of one of the best shooters in the country doinking a free throw, but also you get the whistle on your end. In a lot of Big 12 games where I've crapped on the Big 12 refs because they haven't been the best, especially these last five or so years, I gotta thank you, because man, that I've seen that same type of layup from Trey King shoot, it just doesn't go our way usually. So the fact that Jefferson was able to not only draw the contact, which was huge, but also knock down those 2 free throws, I mean, onions. The guy's got nuts, big ones.
Yeah. He was incredible. The other thing, this is the 3rd time I've watched this game, watched it live, obviously. I watched it on Sunday, and I'm watching it again now. We didn't lead in the game until 10 minutes left in the second half. And it was, I want to say Milan missed a little floater. Guess who? Brant Chatfield, offensive rebound, kick out to Taman Lipsey, 3-point shot, bang. Yeah. What Taman Lipsey might benefit from the most, he's not shooting great from the 3-point line on the season, but it feels like the ones that we really need are the ones that he hits. And that is just point guard to the T. We're not going to draw up plays so that Taman can shoot a 3, but on a weird kick out, offensive rebound, extra pass, he's wide open. Those are the ones, game kind of in the balance. Those seem to always go down for him. And that is exactly what you need out of your trusted, tried and true point guard.
Taman Lipsey is the Mike Conley of Russell Westbrooks.
Wow.
Nobody on this earth knocks down a 3 like that. When he hit that, I was like, of course. That's so Taman. And like you said, to a T, the Timberwolves aren't drawing up 3-point plays for Conley, but guess what? Off of Gobert, terrible hook shot and an offensive rebound, he's wide open at the top of the key. Onions. He is not good. I totally agree. With so much attention, especially in closing game situations where Curtis will be on the floor, he's going to have opportunities to make huge plays. He's just always got to stay ready. And honestly, think about this. Say people have the awareness that, hey, not only can these 2 make big plays, but also so can Taman. Say, all right, now we can't double anybody. Let's pay everyone straight up. Good luck. You got to guard Curtis one-on-one from outside the perimeter. He's going to, again, pull from the timeout square, and then Keshon is going to get to the rack with ease. So you just got enough guys now, and it's the first Iowa State team that really has been deep. I think we talked about this off air, but I think we can always go deeper. But really, it seemed like we've really advanced from going to 6-7 guys in a tight game playing to you can confidently throw out an 8, a 9, maybe, like, and be just fine with this group. But it's amazing to see, really. Also, shout out. I know we got on him in our discourse chat, Mr. Heisey, especially him shooting the ball. He didn't have the best shooting day. That's okay. That's gonna happen. But 9 rebounds.
Yeah. Some big ones.
Dude. That's how I know that kid grew up with a sister that plays hockey. She was giving him noogies his whole life, and he was showing it. That is some gritty ass behavior. And shout out to Mr. Heisey. That was huge for us. Like the same type of 7 rebound game that Chatfield can have. We got to look at that and give it the same type of kudos. You know what I mean?
And I think Nate Heisey is losing some considerable height to Brant Chatfield. But the other thing about Heisey, like you said, am I looking at that right? That's team rebounds.
We got 6 defensive, 3 offensive.
As big as they come, and a great defender. And like I said, this whole team, they do what they are asked to do. He struggles in overtime, but had 9 rebounds. I remember training camp, they were like giving out that rebounding championship belt. He won that like probably more than any other player. And
it was like him and Jefferson switching off every other week.
Yeah, and you would not think Nate Heisey would be like up there with the Jeffersons or the Jacksons or the Chatfields. That dude's getting boards. Board man gets paid.
That guy shoots. That's what he does in practice. He shoots threes. He'll do a few box out drills, and then he just practices getting punched in the face by a manager over and over again, just to feel
then
something.
He's ready.
That's a psycho role playing white boy, and I love it. Every team needs one. We got 2 of them. It's amazing.
Speaking of, there were some whistles I was upset about. They really liked the Keshon offensive foul, where I think some of it was just good ball handling, and he was, guarding the ball with his offhand. I digress. A lot of Texas Tech foul trouble. Elijah Hawkins got taken out of the game. Assist extraordinaire. How many assists did he finish with? Finished with 10, but if he wasn't in foul trouble, could have been 15.
Yeah.
He sat out for a good majority of that second half. Darian Williams played really well for a really long time with 4 fouls. They were just kind of in and out of, and Iowa State did a really good job. I think that's part of the game plan too. Attack the guy with a lot of fouls. Like you could see Taman Lipsey was hunting Elijah Hawkins on offense to try to draw fouls because he knew that, you get this guy out of the game, it's their whole offense comes from him finding wide open players. So I just want to commend, Iowa State for being smart enough to say, hey, we got them on the ropes, go attack them and see what happens. And I think it paid off, especially with Hawkins sitting out. I mean, that's kind of when they made their run, was like the first 10 minutes of that second half to really get back in that game. And Elijah Hawkins was sitting out for a lot of it.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be going forward. That's got to be Iowa State's kind of point of attack is go at the head of the snake when it comes to foul trouble, especially when you're at home. Like, I need Jefferson to be hunting Dickinson, especially if he can get him on the perimeter. Oh my God, he's barbecue. Like, order up, it's gonna be bad. He's getting cooked. Hunter Dickinson has like his 2K speed is at like a 39. It's terrible out there. Like, I really think Jefferson can have a huge day, especially off mismatches, to where Dickinson's gonna have no choice but to foul. Like, I think you can really put people in compromising situations with his ability alone. Because like people are saying, best stretch 4 we've seen since Niang and Royce White. I was gonna say O'Neal. Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets, but it's unreal. Like I think that's got to be Iowa State's point of attack is like just hunt the best dude, put them in a compromising situation to where they have to play a form of basketball that they did not intend walking into today playing. And I think that's what we really did with Texas Tech from the jump. And take again, if that person is a point guard it's even bigger. Like it's going to come when we play Arizona or trying to think of another good. If we play Baylor again for say in the Big 12 tournament, like go at Roach. You know, there's going to be teams, even
Javon Small. Javon Small at West Virginia.
Yusefu too, and then also you can't forget about DeJuan Harris. Yeah. So there's tons of dudes where we can continue to do that, especially with the 3-headed snake we have. Go at the head of the other team's snake because it's usually the point guard. But yeah, no, I think that was a great it was a great thing to do, and it put Texas Tech in a compromising situation where they played a shell of themselves in the second half. Because if you look at the box score, we literally flipped point differentials like in between halves. So it just showed how it's like the call an ambulance, but not for me. And we were the old man with the gun. So it was great to see. And then obviously we took care of business in overtime.
It's interesting to me how I felt like in non-conference we were a first half team. Maybe I guess the Iowa game's kind of an outlier, but in the Big 12 play, it feels like we have turned into a second half team. Whereas if we can, especially on the road, keep it close in the first half and then keep that game within striking distance in the second half, I really like our ability to close games. Because let's talk. So one thing I was pretty upset about, I know I just complimented the coaching on going after plays with fouls. 4 minutes and 2 seconds left. TJ calls his second to last timeout. And I'm kind of confused because the under 4 media timeout never came. I don't know if it was just close enough to 4 minutes that they just said, screw it, we're going to do the media timeout for this. I digress. We were going to get a timeout the next dead ball, which could have been, 10 seconds, ball gets tipped out of bounds, you get a timeout. You don't have to call one yourself. So then we had one timeout left. Keshon couldn't inbound the ball with maybe a minute 50, something like that. And now we have 0 timeouts left in the final 2 minutes of a road game. And Grant McCaslin, bless you, called his final 2 timeouts, I think to set up the defense was the thought process, but it gave us time to draw up an inbound play. And then obviously at the end of regulation, oh my God, one of the most beautiful,
unorthodox.
I don't know. And the other thing that's crazy about that last play is they added a half second to the clock. If we didn't get that extra 0.5 seconds, Joshua Jefferson got the ball off with maybe 0.3, closer to 0.2. Well, so if that's not added on, we're looking at last year's Baylor game where we hit it, but it was 0.2 seconds too late.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I want to give people context of how I was watching this game. So I was getting my hair cut for most of it.
Wow.
And then I saw, but I got it in my hand. I'm about it.
I'm just saying, my head would have got cut off. Moving around.
I'm not gonna lie. When he did the line, I was like, all right, lock in.
Yeah,
I put the phone down for a second, but that's not the point. I was watching it, and then I had to go to Walmart to pick some stuff up, and then I'm sitting in the car just finishing out the game because I can't drive and watch this. It's just not safe. For not only myself but the community. But yeah, I'm watching the game and I'm seeing right when you were talking about them adding that second. I was like 5 seconds. I'm like, that's the full court. That's not enough time. I know this team. We don't have a guy who can just hit his transition 3. Maybe Curtis, but even then, he's better with his feet set, especially off the catch. I just did not feel confident when them boys put up 6. I said, that's too much time. That's too much time. Now we're talking. And it's just crazy how much of a second that helped us because even the Taman, first of all, the way he maneuvered through people, got to the rim under scoop pass, and then Jefferson almost got there a little too early, so had to catch up behind him. Right. That second, that's it. You're not that does not count with there. 5 seconds. It would not have counted. So shout out. I really was okay. There was some questionable calls, but shout out to the officiating crew because this was not your ordinary Big 12 game. I think they knew that, so they're like, let's not be so typical now. Let's try to do our job. And I appreciate them for once. There were some officiating calls in our favor, and it's about damn time because we've gone through a lot in these past.
That single incident, that was the right call. I mean, it was pretty clear as day on instant replay that the ball went out at 6.2 or whatever, 6.3, whatever it was. So that one wasn't I have it on right now and I just saw Darren Williams. Spoiler alert, He didn't make the last shot, and Iowa State won. But just like they got the right call, but then to see Iowa State execute the way they did, and I think there is something to Joshua Jefferson. We started the show talking about Curtis and Keshon, who have all the personality in the world. They have to carry that shit around in a wheelbarrow with them. Joshua Jefferson is the most stoic, just emotionless, not in a bad way, but he just conducts himself. He's so composed out there. And after that game-tying shot to send it into overtime was the most emotion I've seen out of him on the court, off the court, any time in his life. And I wish we got the camera angle because I want to know if he was smiling. I don't think I've ever seen the dude smile. And I just like him being that stone cold in that moment. He hit huge free throws down the stretch. I think there's something to that for him to be so calm and poised that gives him kind of an edge during winning time that, he is just a crucial player to be out there in those moments.
Yeah. Well, and two, like the play that sets us up to take the lead, I mean, he wanted that ball.
Yeah.
That step he took towards the basket. First of all, I don't think we can fathom like how big he is. You've seen him in person, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's a large kid.
Yeah.
Like he's got he's got some thick thighs on him. So if those things are moving me out the way, I'm moving. I'm sorry.
Yep.
My bad, bro. I was in your way. My bad. So he's got tree trunks for legs. And that was a very powerful-esque move that he made to the rim. So it's kind of like, how could you not call the foul? I think we just, for once, we don't have that stretch four who maybe like for a Jazz back in the day, probably wouldn't even have had the body mass to move someone out the way and try to make a play like that. It's just a different team. It's a complete team for the first time in a while, man. And different people are going to pop up and show out in different moments, but the three-headed snake outside of the guards, when I talk about three-headed snakes, the real three-headed snake has been Keshon, Curtis, and Joshua Jefferson. They've been unbelievable so far this year, especially in conference. Also, too, can't forget to mention both Curtis and Joshua Jefferson took home Big 12 newcomer and player of the week. So shout out to those boys.
Wept it. And if you look at minutes, like you said, the three players, I know Curtis comes off the bench, technically is the best six man in the country, but he plays 35 minutes a game. So he sits out the first 5 minutes and he very rarely ever comes out again.
Yeah.
And then I think Jefferson had maybe played 37 and Keshon played 38 or something like that. So those are the three guys that play the most ball and they're so interchangeable. Curtis Jones had 26. And then overtime, like you said, I mean, this Texas Tech team didn't roll over. Iowa State had to fight for it in overtime. Darian Williams, I kind of forgot about Iowa State going after him in the transfer portal 2 years ago. And I can't remember like the line of events, but I think he committed to Texas Tech before Curtis Jones committed to Iowa State, I think. So, I mean, like, if we got Darian Williams, we probably don't have Curtis Jones. What I'm saying is there was some poetic justice in Darian Williams missing that last-second shot against a team that he could have played for if he would have been willing to take a little less money, maybe, and then ends up on the losing side of the game. There's just something poetic about a Big 12 basketball game on a Saturday in January there.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I've told you this a bunch of times, but there's nothing better than, like, I remember being in Ames and it was like cold freshman year. You walk down the seasons and you got a nasty slate of games and you just prop up your phone like a little iPad kid and you just go to town on some food. Oh, there was no better way to spend a Saturday. And I still feel like that. I feel like a kid on Saturdays during conference season because it's even without the game being as good as it was today. I mean, on Saturday, like they quite like it the entire day was full of great basketball. So it didn't disappoint. I just love when Iowa State can always add to the conversation because there was a lot of headlines on Saturday that could have overshadowed us. But I had a handful of people at work come up to me and be like, "Hey, man, the Cyclones are legit. They're good."
Yeah. And
I was like, "Welcome to reality," because we're here. We're here, guys. What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do about it? Like it's wow. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say half the time. I really don't.
And I kind of jokingly tweeted it, but Iowa State was getting some disrespect from so-called bracketologists last week, putting us on the 2 line or Alabama jumped us. They lost tonight. Duke put in front of us. And then for Iowa State to go on the road, beat Texas Tech the way they did, what are they going to say now? That is just, we're a top 2 team, and the only reason I have to say and not 2 is because Auburn beat us on a tippet. Yeah. But I really think we're right there with Auburn. Auburn just blew out Mississippi State tonight without Janai Broome. I think, and we saw Tennessee. We kind of called it with Tennessee. I said they aren't like the rest of them, and I don't think they are. So I really think Iowa State, Auburn, and Duke are the 3 teams that have kind of separated themselves. I think this weekend just cemented that to me.
Yeah, no, and it's getting to the point now where it's I think the SEC in general is just going to beat up on each other so much that if it isn't Florida, who makes it out of and makes it to that last spot in the Final Four, I really do think that last spot in the Final Four is going to be from the Big Ten. It's obviously not going to be like Iowa or anything, but I think Illinois has really got some stuff going. When they're healthy, they're a great team. And also too, Michigan State. I know they didn't start off as hot. They lost, I think, to Kansas early on in the year. But other than that, they've been rolling. They took it to Northwestern this past weekend, and they've looked really solid. So I think you know how Izzo is in March, man. The guy just finds himself in legendary moments. So you can't count that guy out. And 2, Illinois just got a really good ball club this year. So I do think that last spot, I said it last week, definitely think Illinois can make it to the Final Four. And it's not just my home state bias. I honestly don't like the Illini. Realistically, anytime they lose a big game, I'm giving all my friends crap. So I don't want people to think I'm a homer. But I got to call a spade a spade. They look like that last team that's going to be making the Final Four this year.
I'll say this. I think there's a real possibility, and I would agree that the SEC is the best conference in basketball right now. But like you said, the product of that is you're going to beat the hell out of each other like the Big 12 has the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. I really think the other team could come from the Big 12. I calculated the DPI through Sunday, and 5 of the top 10 teams in DPI are from the Big 12. We got Iowa State at 3, Houston at 4, Kansas at 7, Arizona at 9, Texas Tech at 10. And Alabama is nowhere to be found on DPI because they turned the ball over a shit ton. And for those who don't know, the DPI basically just puts a bunch of statistics together. I weigh them a certain amount, and then I get a final index score after I put in about 14 different statistics, essentially, the rankings. And the Big 12 is doing, what do I want to say? Compared to the noise we are getting, they are doing much better analytically than anybody is giving us credit for. The top of the Big 12 is, I'd put it up there with anyone. I'd put it up there against the SEC, the Big 10, whoever you want. And about your Big 10, they don't have a single team in the top 10 of DPI.
Watch the your, okay? Look, man, I don't even know this. Here's the thing. Dylan has been on this DPI wave for a few years now, and I get it. Numbers. It's very efficient to at least find out bracket seedings and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, at some point it crumbles, and there is always some WTF team in the Final Four. Now, I don't think it's going to be FAU this year or San Diego State, but there's always kind of there's always a Duff, the designated ugly fat friend. There's always one Duff in the Final Four each year, and you can always they stick out like a sore thumb. So with that being, I think that team's going to come from the Big Ten, because while they're not the best conference, I'm not saying that at all, nor am I claiming them. I hate all of those dudes, except I'm rooting for Ohio State in the national championship. But that's a story for another day. But I'm saying it just because I know the personnel on Illinois that's a team that can make big plays come March. But also too, I've seen it too much on my own hands. I know what Izzo can do, and he's shown up in the Final Four in years where he had no business showing up in the Final Four. The other 3 teams were expected to be there, but Izzo, guy just shows up like, hey. He's like the vine of the teacher that keeps coming in the class, and the guy it's like, hello, hello, that's Izzo coming to the Final Four every damn
Yeah.
year. It feels like. So I really do think the last spot really could be either Michigan State or Illinois. But continue. What were you saying?
If I'm going to pick a team, again, this is DPI based. So if it's right, give me credit. If it's wrong, I didn't say it.
Yeah.
Maryland does really well in the DPI. They're like a projected 9 seed about right now. DPI has them at like a 4 seed. They're right in the mix with Illinois, Michigan State, and Michigan and those Big Ten teams. So analytically, Maryland is punching above their weight. So that's just a team. Derek Queen, teammate of Cooper Flagg, your boy, in high school at Monteverde. So just a team to look out for. I want to just put it on the radar.
That's like, if your pick for, it's like, say that last spot in the Final Four is a Big 12 team, who is it?
Dude, it's tough. The SEC, like, I think the SEC and the Big 12 are good enough to have 2 teams in the Final Four. Like, I could see.
You think it's going to be 2 SEC teams and 2 Big 12 teams?
No. I'm saying I can see one of those conferences getting 2 teams.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
So, but like in teams to pick, we've been so bad at this. I feel like any team we pick goes on to lose like the very next game. So I don't even want to. We're just cursing teams at this point. Gonzaga also looks really good on paper.
Yeah.
But they always do because they play nobodies. So I don't know. I don't have a good one for you.
Well, that's
we'll keep looking. Right now,
let's keep looking at Kansas. Let's keep looking at Kansas because that's the next person we got to smack in the mouth. And I got a bone to pick with those scrubs, those 25-year-olds.
Should we roll into Hunter Dickinson and those Jayhawks? From
Hunter Dickinson and the senior citizen squad. Yeah. Let's talk about it, please.
So coming off of an ugly, ugly game at Cincinnati, Kansas won 54-40. Talk about a team that has really disappointed since Big 12 play has started. Cincinnati has really underwhelmed, had a lot of momentum going into this year, and haven't looked good. But Kansas only putting up 54 points. To be fair, after Kansas lost to West Virginia at Fog Allen, beat UCF by about 1 million points, had a pretty easy home game against Arizona State, and then they went on the road, played a backyard brawl against Cincinnati, and now they come to Hilton Coliseum. And Nigel, I want to talk. So Kansas has 3 losses, but you and me were talking about this team is a really good 3-loss team. Like the 3 losses are not, they're understandable.
Yeah, and 2 of them were on the road.
Right.
The other one was at home, but it was on New Year's Eve. So that's, again, I said that from the jump. They're going to lose that game. 1 p.m. game on New Year's Eve. And like, if you're Kansas and you're writing West Virginia off so fast, it's not even funny. Yeah. I saw that coming, and Joe Yusufu and Tucker DeVries said, "Hold my beer, please," because we got some noise to make. And DeVries didn't even play that game. I thought it was gonna be just him, but like they had all this adversity happen too. Like they're like playing. Like, I don't want to say crashed because that's not funny, but like it, like something was wrong with the plane. Like people were sick. Like they had every excuse in the book to lose, and they were like, you know what, let's just go out there and smack them, and they did so. They didn't smack them; they won by a point, but a win is a win at the end of the day. But yeah, all of these losses are like, actually no, I take that back. The West Virginia loss is bad. It shows that they're human, and they are what should I say? They're victim to human nature, because that is definitely a game where you kind of put on cruise control. I know Kansas, they were thinking about the moves later that night, thinking about what type of parties they could tap into in Lawrence, even though nothing's going on in Lawrence on New Year's Eve. But I get it. They wrote that one off. I just know they're gonna probably be playing with a bit more of a chip this year. In this time too, playing Iowa State, because it's a rematch from last year. We all know what happened last year. And it's very rare when we go into a Kansas game with the upper hand, but the dynamic has definitely shifted this year where, we're now, don't want to call us a new Kansas, but how we were looking at this game last year, we are now in Kansas's position. So it's definitely going to be kind of a flip-flopped approach. Now it's all about how do we handle it? Because I know we've gotten better at not being the underdog anymore, but it's like, how do we continue that for long spurts of time? You know what I mean?
And this is the Kansas team. They haven't won at Hilton Coliseum. I looked it up before the show since 2022. So their core Kansas players, Dickinson, DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, none of those three have won at Hilton Coliseum. A lot of the new guys obviously haven't either. Zeke Mayo, Rylan Griffin. He's a junior this year, right?
No, he's a senior. He's class of 2020.
Okay. Yeah, so when he was a freshman, I don't know how much he was playing against Isaiah Brockington, but they did beat us that year. So KJ Adams might be the sole exception. Is DeJuan Harris a senior now that I think about it? Or DeJuan?
Yeah, him and Adams are the same age.
Okay.
I think those are it, though.
But I don't know. I could go back to the box score and see how much they played. I would guess not a whole lot. That would have been, is that the Jalen Wilson Kansas team?
Yes.
Would that have been the year before that?
No. Okay, so Jalen Wilson was his last year was with Grady Dick. No. Okay, so championship team was Harris, Abaji, Christian Brown, Jalen Wilson, and McCormick. That was
that 2022 or was that 2021?
2022.
That was the last team that beat Iowa State at Hilton.
Yeah, 2022. I was at that game. Yeah, that was the last time we lost them, but they went on to win the national championship, so I'll take it. But yeah, since their national championship, that's a better way to put it. Since Kansas' national championship, we have not lost to Kansas. So that's what I said. The dynamic is completely flip-flopped. So it's all about how you handle this now. Like how do we go about handling a Kansas team that's usually got the upper hand on us going into this game?
And I know Hunter Dickinson. I hope Trey King's in attendance. I hope he is courtside.
I'm so glad you brought up his name because I had to pop it on for.
Look at that! Wow. Look at that! King of the court, the NIL T-shirt in all of its glory.
Gone but never forgotten.
That's a beautiful T-shirt. He should get courtside tickets. I'm guessing he's playing overseas right now. Get that man on a private jet. I want him looking dead eyes with Hunter Dickinson when he walks on the court, just so Dickinson's seeing ghosts out there.
Honestly, just when he gets off the bus, let's just have Trey King kick his ass.
Yeah. Set the tone.
Welcome to Ames. But
set the tone.
Yeah, let's set the tone early. But go ahead.
This is just the biggest. I'll say this, and I said this before the show. If Iowa State wins this game against Kansas, I think the excitement around Iowa State men's basketball will be as high as it has ever been in my lifetime. There is something about Iowa State beating Kansas, and one of the beautiful things that conference realignment has not touched is Iowa State's hatred for Kansas and basketball.
Yeah.
Just like everything else, be damned.
That was always a team that was getting paid, boy. Let's not play stupid.
They were NIL in the BC era. They were paying guys forever.
They were paying the guys who were shooting granny shots. They were Mr. Naismith, you're not slick. We see you. He was out there handling bags of coins. I don't know what was valuable back then, but I'm assuming it was like 30 cents could get you a steak dinner in Lawrence, Kansas.
Giving players 2 cows to take home to their families.
Yeah. Now you got milk for 5 years. Look at that.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness though, like I didn't even think about this aspect, but I think this game is going to get a lot of kids back to school a little earlier than anticipated because I think the semester starts on the 20th again.
Monday.
But the fact that you got Kansas coming to Ames early, let's not forget about what the first week of the semester usually is, especially that January semester. It's syllabus week. Nothing's happening. Guys, if we beat Kansas on a Wednesday going into that weekend and then that week of doing nothing, guys, people are going to need their stomachs pumped. It's going to be bad. Ames might burn down to the ground. And Keshon and hopefully those guys stay safe, but I hope they experience some of that because that's what being in college is all about. Nonetheless, what a time to be an Iowa State student because like if that train of events is to happen in that fashion, oh my God. Like the vibes are gonna, like you said, the vibes are gonna be so high right now for Iowa State kids, and also to just the community in general. But it's always different when like teams can go on these types of runs and you're there, like you're a student. These kids, you're running into them to go to class. Like it's just got a different aura to it, and it's awesome to see. But yeah, this is gonna be a big game, man. Like that's saying the obvious, but I'm very excited about what could come of tomorrow night, because a lot of things open up for us when it comes to, like, yeah, right now we're good, but can you beat Kansas? Like, even with them being ranked lower than us, like in losing more games than us so far, like it's still always going to be a question until you do it. Like it's just that simple.
And I'm glad you brought the students up. I was at Iowa State tonight. I did the live shots before the women's game tonight, and a student stopped us. And so this was like back in peak Hoiberg days. A space heater caught a tent on fire as like kids were camping out for the game. Since then, space heaters have been like banned, or just like propane, any kind of heat, because of the fire hazard. But I feel like the past couple years had been a little more lax about it. But there was a handful of kids camping out tonight for the game tomorrow night, and they said that like ISU PD basically took their space heaters away, or said they had to put them away. They couldn't use them. So I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a meteorologist. I know it's going to be really cold tonight, so if you are camping out, please
deal with it. Rub some dirt on it. Matter of fact, rub some snow on it.
As we're talking about hate week with Kansas, do you remember that soft ass shit where their like students wanted congratulations for being able to stay the night inside of Fog Allen, like the night they just get to camp inside there?
First of all, I get why that pissed off people from Ames, because like we are more prone to just be able to thug it out, obviously. But how fun
is it even cold in Kansas? What are we doing?
I mean, yeah, the same type of wind we get in Iowa, they're getting in Kansas, because there's nothing there.
Probably 50 there right now.
No way. Put it this way. I'll tell you this: being in Illinois and then going to Iowa for winter, like I've been in both winters now for extensive periods of time, and something about Iowa, man, that wind hits you in the face, and it feels aggressive.
It feels
oppressive. Like it feels like it did bad things to you back in the 60s. But it's just not. It's not good out there, man. It's bad. Like it's very just cold and bitter, and I think it adds to an element. But how fun would that be? I mean, I wish Hilton would do something like that, where they let the kids, like, mind you, there'd probably be a lot of issues, but
yeah, I think that's the reason.
It would still be objectively really fun to just be able to like spend the night in Hilton Coliseum. Like how fun is that? Like and then you go and you probably skip school the whole rest of the next day, and you're just your entire priority that day is beating that team that's coming in there. I think it can set a crazy tone, like more than any other Kansas game would bring. Like if we were able to do that, I think our kids would be on one. They really would be. Like from the jump, from the second they see a Jayhawk come out for warmups, it's on. Like you should have heard what people were saying to Grady Dick his freshman year. It was terrible.
I bet. Yeah, we gave Kansas players a business. There was some walk-on redhead that was there for like 8 years. I swear to God, he was there 2 years before I went to school, and he was there 3 years after. I have no idea that man was still eligible, and he got the business.
With the sleeve.
I don't remember if he had a
tattoo sleeve. He's a ginger though, right?
Yeah, I mean, just had like bright red hair.
I know what you're talking about, but go on. What were you saying?
Yeah, he got the work in warm-ups, and like for no reason. I mean, he never saw the court. Anyways, I think that's part of like the original recipe for Hilton Magic is like you get a bunch of students pissed off about being cold for 24, 18, 12, 6 hours. You put them in a small confined space after they've just been in pain and freezing, and then just let them kind of do whatever angry young people do. It is like there is a core experience there of being an Iowa State student, freezing your ass off, and then watching the basketball team just rip to shreds some top 25 team that walks into Hilton on a cold January night. There's nothing better.
Beautiful. And
it really
guys, you can get creative with this Kansas team. Like, you know, like when someone says something to you and they're just so easy of a comeback, you just look at them and you're just like, too easy. That's Kansas, man. There's a lot of lore behind this starting five. AJ Storr, he's got more teams than he has probably had girlfriends. Okay, like
Sure.
he's a homie hopper. If y'all don't get on him about, he's got Kevin Durant 2016 loyalty. Okay, he is hopping from team to team on a year-to-year basis. It's unbelievable. Like I say, you get in his head early, and then Juwan Harris, Hunter Dickinson. These are all guys who they went to the combine and knew that they were going to be summer league players. So they're like, yeah, I guess I'll just steal $8 million from Kansas again. Just try this whole college basketball thing one more time. Like they're very easy. My only stay away from would be KJ Adams. He did lose his mother, so let's not get too personal, okay? But he's still free game. You can make fun of his hair or his big arms. I don't know. Just get creative. Like it's the animosity is there. It's just a matter of how you use getting in their head is very important, and we need to do it early and fast.
And here's the thing: if you're bringing young kids to the Kansas game tomorrow, your kids might hear some words that they've never heard before, and you say, "Look, when you're 19, when you're 20, when you're 21, and you're a student at Iowa State, you can say those words."
I'm going to be mad if you're not saying those words. If you don't say those words at 19, you're grounded.
So I apologize to the second and third graders that are going to learn some new vocabulary tomorrow night, but you got to let the college kids have fun. That is how you beat Kansas. You got to let the angry dads with mustaches give the refs a new one. It is part of the Hilton Coliseum experience, and I would want it no other way, especially for Kansas. It's a top 10 matchup. We're the highest we've ever been ranked, and I think this team is beatable. I like this Kansas team. They're a lot like last year. This team is not full of, they are not a well-oiled machine. Individually, their parts separate are very impressive. As a collective, it hasn't gelled super well all year. Even in their wins, it has looked clunky and awkward, and I don't think they're super comfortable playing with each other yet. This is a team that could come on late, and when we go to their place or when we see them in Kansas City, or God forbid in March, it could be a whole different team. But they're coming to Hilton. Iowa State is rocking right now. You better put these boys on blast. This is your chance to just show the hell out against my most hated team in basketball. The Hawkeyes don't come close to the Jayhawks in basketball. I hate Kansas. They have taken Iowa talent away from us. Kirk Heinrich, Nick Collinson, Roy Williams himself has just desecrated the Iowa recruiting. He's not even a coach anymore, and I'm still worried about him taking our talent. So, beat Kansas. Beat the hell out of them. I'm getting angry right now because I'm thinking too much about Kansas, Nigel. Pull me off the ledge.
Okay, I got you. I just want to remind you, one other Iowa boy that I wish Iowa State would have took a crack at back in the day is Kyle Korver.
Yeah.
How we miss out on that, man? 6'7" white kid from, what is it, Pella? I've always said it wrong.
Shooter.
How do you miss that? That's down the road. What are we doing? Come on, man. I always had Iowa over time has had some dude. I loved learning about the Iowa lore, especially at the high school level. There's a lot of those kids, man. They got a lot of talent. But yeah, no, like you said, this team's very beatable. It's just a matter of taking care of business. I've never seen a Kansas game where there's so much in our favor for once. Think about it, guys. We played well with nothing in our favor. We like that game a few years ago where Grill missed that game-winning three at their place. We weren't expected to win that game. They're probably 14-point favorites. It's never been so. Right now, according to ESPN analytics, and I take this with a grain of salt because this isn't like DPI stats level, but
appreciate it.
63.8%. I like those odds. I'm not saying bet your money on us, but put your faith in us at least because I really do think the Iowa State Cyclones are going to take care of business tomorrow.
I think Ken Pom has this at 6 points. I think the early betting lines were 6.5, 6, 5.5, somewhere in that range. Man, I hope I think it was 2 years ago, 2023, where we just kind of handled them. I think the final score, we beat them by 12 or 14, but we kind of just put them to work. And I would just love a game like that where it's not really in doubt the whole time. I just want buzzer to buzzer. We've been saying, I don't think we've seen our best game yet. I don't think we've seen Iowa State play a great 40-minute basketball game. If it's tomorrow night at Hilton Coliseum against Kansas.
I would prefer it to be in April, but continue.
Sure, if it's April 7th, I'll take that day too. But for now, if it comes on January 15th, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, we're due. To think we're due, I don't know. It might be an X Factor game. Who knows? Like, I think we may need to have a secret weapon just in case. Maybe crack the Noyes emergency button, or who knows? Maybe bring out Mr. Watson. We know how he does in those sporadic off the bench moments.
I got one for you. I've been watching a lot of hoops tonight. A lot of Missouri Valley transfers played their ass off tonight. Connor Enright from Drake had a great game. There was a kid from Belmont. He plays for Ole Miss now. He had a really good game. And there's another one I'm blanking on. What I'm saying is, Nate Heisey, go to work.
Might be your day. It might be time to embody Kirk Heinrich if you could.
If you would pick a guy, truthfully, on our, probably our 8-man rotation to have a big game, kind of like the blank legacy game tomorrow night, who do you see it coming from?
I think it's not. Here's the thing: a legacy game is like in my head, a legacy game is like 25 plus.
I would jokingly, like Brant Chatfield, his game against Colorado, 7 offensive rebounds. I would call that a Brant Chatfield legacy game. Someone that steps up and does more than what they're expected to do.
Okay, because my answer was going to be Jefferson, but that's solely off of the mismatch that I think he can bring if Dickinson has to switch on him. You know what? We haven't seen it yet. I'm going to go with Deshaun Jackson.
I like it.
I really think, like, size-wise, I don't think Dickinson has seen someone of his stature yet. Yeah. So, and then again, his age too. Like those two are the same age, I believe. Or is
Dickinson might be a year older. Yeah.
Still, I mean, of course, Dickinson's older than everyone on the floor. Right. That checks out. But
he's 37 years old, so it's hard to be young.
He's 48 years old. Oh my God. No, but I do think Jackson has potential to be kind of a sleeper pick, because it's like, if it isn't him, it could be Milan. If it isn't Milan,
that's my pick.
You got Milan?
If I can get 5 threes from Milan tomorrow night.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll do a backflip in the middle of the street. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll do a backflip on air.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I won't
right here, live.
No, I'm kidding. I'll tear it up live. I'll tear that thing up live. Let's go. No, but yeah, it's hype, dude. I'm so hyped for tomorrow. I can't even fathom. I don't know how I'm gonna get through work. Just because this is what you dream for, man. 6 o'clock tip off, like it's gonna be buzzing, and I cannot wait to tune into the Clones.
I will not be in the building, unfortunately. I tried my hardest, Nigel. I really did. I tried every tool in the box, couldn't get it done. So I'm just hoping for a story that I'm either driving and I can listen to it on the radio because I'm not able to like edit or shoot anything, or slow news day. Everybody, no one commit a crime tomorrow is all I'm asking. Do whatever you want Thursday.
What's the crime? It's going to be on Hunter Dickinson, that's for sure.
Amen in Hilton Coliseum. And I'll be the one to break the news. I'll be out there with my camera in the cold on what happened to the Kansas Jayhawks. So, Nigel, anything you got to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, I'm getting proud of how long I'm retaining myself, but I just want to say, if you didn't know that, now you do. Cooper Flagg's the number 1 pick in this upcoming draft. I hope people can see the gospel now. People talk to me like I was crazy at the beginning of the year. Ace Bailey this, Dylan Harper that. Please shut up. It's never been a debate. It's over. That's one cold ass white boy. Shout out to my boy. But yeah, nonetheless, this is an Iowa State podcast, and we're focused on Iowa State. We're focused on Kansas. Also, me being a Duke fan as well, we couldn't take care of business. So if we can beat Kansas, that definitely gives us a constant. Yeah, we didn't beat Auburn, but we beat Kansas. Right. You know, so this could definitely give us kind of that ultimate edge over the Duke Blue Devils, because right now they got the edge over us off of just beating Auburn.
Yeah.
So let's try to kind of even the score tomorrow and try to get this dub over Kansas. But I'm excited.
I know
there's a lot at hold. There's a lot at stake. It's not face value, but if you peel that onion, there's a lot at stake for this Kansas game. Like it'll give us a lot of padding going forward for the rest of the year.
Last question I'm going to ask you. Did Duke, I know they had a really tough game in the ACC tonight. Did they get the job done against the daunting Miami Hurricanes tonight?
I believe so. I believe it was like 89-52. But hey, it's like saying the sky is blue. We knew that was coming.
It's good work if you can get it over there in the ACC. So, Nigel, let him cook. Huge game. Everybody be as loud as you can. I don't care if you're in Hilton, if you're watching on your TV. This is the time.
Yeah.
The time is now. The ceiling is the roof. Like,
it's a bad day to be a Jayhawk. I'd be terrified. I'd be trembling, shaking in my boots if I were them.
Gotta hate Kansas. All right, let him cook. Let's get out of here.
Let's get it.
See you guys.